Hello, all you beautiful people. I'm Wolfie, and today I'm answering your questions about life in Japan. I'm very excited to get to your questions, so let's just jump into it. First question is from Austin Auclair. What do you do for work in Japan? When I came to Japan, I was an assistant language teacher through the JET program. I did that for about 4 years, and now I'm a full-time foreign language teacher teaching English. In regards to Japan, can I crash at your place? Loot Kiwi asks, how much does one spend on rent and food relative to a normal worker's salary? I'm not sure what normal worker's salary is. I'd say for teaching in Japan, especially as an assistant language teacher, you can make roughly $2,200 to $2,500 after taxes. It definitely varies, and the JET program is one of the most high-paying jobs. For me, on rent, food, electricity, water, gas bill, phone bill, all these kind of monthly expenses, I spent roughly 35% of my pay. The rest of it I divided up into kind of fun stuff and also savings. If you live in the big cities, you'll probably spend much more, especially on rent. It really depends if you live in the countryside or in the big cities. Of course, in the big cities, things will be more expensive. Food, I think, is pretty universal price-wise. But if you're frugal, you can definitely make a living and get some savings off your money. Next question, Kiki Ori. What is the most difficult thing about living in Japan? I think the most difficult thing is daily life. I've become used to it, but even the simplest things like paying bills, all the small difficulties that can easily be addressed by talking to someone are more difficult because people speak Japanese. Even though I'm competent at speaking Japanese at this point, it's still a challenge. Even the smallest little things I have to ask for help, I have to start preparing in my head like, all right, what do I say? What's the vocabulary? I pull up my phone, kind of checking words. So I'd say the hardest part is just getting used to daily life at the beginning. I'm quite comfortable now and I can even stumble my way through many conversations. I think the most difficult thing was trying to adult while also doing it in a second language. What part of Japanese culture is still difficult for you? For me, I'm pretty much used to things. I feel very comfortable living in Japan, but I think the thing that bothers me the most is people tend to accept rules just because they're there. Now, I'm from America and we tend to question and ask why. I was taught in school to ask why things are. And they don't do that much here. I've often asked about a rule and been told, well, that's just the way things are. But why? Why? It's impossible to generalize everyone, of course. In Japanese culture, there is a tendency to just kind of follow an established order. That's what's worked before, it's clearly effective, and so people continue doing that. Now, to me, that drives me crazy because I want to know why we're doing this. Let's improve, let's innovate. But Japan does innovate, but it tends to be a little bit more slowly. I've become used to that, and I still get a little frustrated at times, but, I'm the visitor. I'm living in this country, and there's so much to love about it that some of the smaller things you learn to forgive and live with. McKenna Lewis. Hey, McKenna! Long time no see. What is your favorite game store to go to in Japan? Oh, easy. Super Potato. Super Potato. Super Potato is a wonderful retro video game store. It has lots of used games, some of the newest ones as well. But the thing that makes it so interesting is it's part old game store and also part kind of museum. And that's what I love about physical game stores, is I love when there's that aspect of you can buy games here. Of course, you can buy used games and find kind of legendary stuff that's off the market. And also there's a lot of paraphernalia. There's all these like special edition controllers and consoles and really cool stuff that you can only find in these like secondhand stores. So if you're ever in Japan, in both Osaka and Tokyo, you can find Super Potato, and I highly recommend going there. There's so much cool stuff to find, and I absolutely love it. Every time I'm in those cities, I definitely try to stop by Super Potato. Even if I don't buy anything, I just love to look at all the cool museum level quality of stuff they have there. It's really cool. Alec asks, how did/does your family feel about your decision to move to Japan? Since I was a child, I've been obsessed with Japan. I loved games and anime as a kid, and so it's always been a dream of mine to go to Japan. When I was a university student, I studied abroad in Japan, and I knew immediately I wanted to go back. So when I got the confirmation email saying I have a job, I think my parents, for them, it was bittersweet. They were proud that I could live my dream and go to Japan and do what I've always wanted. But of course, they were also sad to see me go. Especially when you live in another country, you're so much further away physically. If there's an emergency, your family can't really get to you as easily. So I think that was definitely scary. But I will say, I talk to my parents more now than I ever did in university. I'd call my parents like every few months just to ask for money. Hey mom, hey dad, I was wondering, I've been kind of low on gas money, so... Really? You don't mind? Oh, thank you so much. Bye. But now I call my parents every week. Every Saturday morning, their Friday night, I give them a ring and just talk, just chat, ask about what's going on with them, tell them what's going on with me. And it's really nice. It only took me living on the other side of the world to finally get used to calling them. The Bear family asks, are there still panty sniffing machines? LOL, JK. Japan looks beautiful, man. My real question is, do you speak Japanese well? I speak well enough. I've now been studying Japanese about 5 years, so I'm definitely comfortable speaking. I feel comfortable talking to anyone, having a general conversation, but I still struggle all the time. Even simple situations, people will talk to me and I just start stumbling sometimes and have no idea what even to say. But luckily, people are very forgiving. A lot of Japanese are so happy to know you want to speak their language that they completely understand mistakes. That said, just like with English, sometimes small pronunciations people don't understand, but like once you tune in enough, they're like, oh, that's what you mean. I have no trouble living day-to-day life and talking with people and strangers and asking for directions or getting help with things now, but I'm definitely far from fluent. I mean, language learning is a marathon. Next up, the Has-Man. Where in Japan do you recommend visiting if it is your first time? Long-time subscriber, thank you so much. Really enjoy your content. Thank you so much, the Has-Man. I really appreciate it. Speaking of subscribing, if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate it. Every time I check my channel and see if I got a new subscriber, a like, or a comment, I get so excited and feel even more motivated to keep making content. So thank you all so much for your continued support. I really appreciate it. I look forward to doing my best to put out great content I'm proud of. Great places for first time visit. Nikko. Nikko. I'm gonna say again, Nikko. Nikko is a beautiful little mountain town. It's kind of that old Japan feel you might imagine. It has the burial ground of Tokugawa Ieyasu, who is the shogun of the Tokugawa era, who's the very Tokugawa who started the Tokugawa era. They have the original wise monkeys, you know, the see no evil, hear no evil. It's really cool. I highly recommend checking it out. If you have time in Japan, it's just like a day trip, easily from Tokyo. I've been to many places in Japan, and Nikko is definitely one of my favorites. Brendan says, your girlfriend is cute. Thank you. I know that's not a question, but I just want to include it anyway, because, you know, she's pretty adorable. Now, all these wonderful questions came from YouTube, my comments. Thank you again so much. This next group of questions comes from my favorite place to waste time, Reddit. A lot of these people are small YouTubers on the small YouTuber subreddit, which I frequent a lot. If you're interested in finding new, interesting YouTubers that are really passionate about what they do, please consider checking out this subreddit, and you might find your new favorite YouTuber. Busa Falconer asks, do you spend much time in video arcades? If so, are they busy like they were in the US back in the 80s and 90s? I don't spend a lot of time at arcades, but whenever I walk by one, I definitely try and pop in. It's really cool seeing the amazing machines they have. Japanese arcades are still doing quite well compared to America. Very popular games are like card games, where you get special cards that you can put on the table and it will register into the game. It's really cool. I've not tried them myself, but I want to sometime. Sean Young, overall good video. Thank you so much. The video he's referencing is my call for questions video. If you want to see a little bit about my local area in Japan, I did a little montage at the end of the video. So please check that out after this video. Or you can go now. I'll wait. I would like to know, how is the food in Japan? Is it generally healthier than other cuisines? I will say, I think Japanese food is healthier. Now, first, it's important to know that just like any place, there can be healthy food, but there's also plenty of unhealthy food too. Convenience stores in Japan are so convenient, and the food they have is delicious. But, you know, you eat enough of it and the calories start counting themselves. I think generally, yeah, it is healthier. There's a lot more mix of vegetables and fish, but if you're not careful, you can still eat too many delicious things and bulk up. When I first came to Japan, I lost a lot of weight, in part because of the healthier food and the fact you have to walk everywhere. Public transportation's awesome, so you can totally function without a car and be able to walk around quite easily. And with the healthier food and the walking, you end up getting kind of skinny. Burkitts asks, what are your favorite foods, and is there anything you wish you had there but don't, like you miss it from home? Chicken Namban. I love me some chicken Namban. Woo! Chicken nanban is fried chicken with this like tartar sauce, egg, mayonnaise mix. That's so good. It is the highest of calories, but it's so delicious. Runner up would be katsudon, which is the most simple, just pork cutlets, rice, egg. It's just beautiful. It's chef kiss beautiful. It's so simple, but so delicious. Like most Japanese food, simple, but delicious. Now, as for something I miss, cereal, sugary cereal. Oh my gosh, sugar cereal. Here in Japan, they mostly have like granola cereal, or they have like Frosted Flakes, which is fine. But I miss Lucky Charms. Oh my gosh, Lucky Charms is my jam. And I know some people like just the marshmallows and not the like regular mix cereal. No, I want it all. I love all of it. I miss sugary cereal. I love sugary cereal as like a snack, as a meal, as just an all-day buffet. Every time I go back home to the US, I bring back with me a bag of Lucky Charms and Reese Cups. Oh, love me some Reese Cups. Sizzo C asks, what was the process of moving into Japan like? I always wanted to move there myself and have been wondering what it is like to actually go through the moving process. For me, I was very fortunate where I came over through the JET program. Now, the JET program does the hiring process. Your contract is with the company you work for, but there is an expectation that the company will help take care of all the moving arrangements. So they handled the flight, they handled the apartment, helped me move in, gave me a ride to help get new things I need for my place. That was really helpful. So they were really good at helping me get set up and made it fairly painless process. I know there are a lot of private companies I've heard that just leave it all up to you, and I don't know much about that. That sounds very difficult and intimidating. If you can find the right program or employee, it can help a lot. If a company is willing to hire you and bring you all the way to Japan, and help you get a visa and help you get set up, they're probably more than willing to help give you some sort of living arrangement and help you with that process. Definitely make sure if you do come, have some sort of company that's willing to help you. And again, if they want to hire people from abroad, they probably have some sort of system in place to give aid and help you in getting things situated. I can't give too much information on what it's like to move to Japan and get set up yourself, because again, I had a lot of help from others. But after I finished teaching with the JET program, I actually did end up moving myself. So I did have to go through a lot of that process and how to move, change jobs, get a car, do a bunch of these different things. And I don't have time to answer in this video, but if you guys would be interested in learning about some of those details, please let me know in the comments below. I might make a part 2 giving details about continuing life in Japan. Do you need to know Japanese to live in Japan? If not, how do you read most things? Do you need Japanese? No. Honestly, you don't. You can speak nothing, and I know people who've come here speaking not a word of Japanese and do fine. If you come over to do something like teach English, then the expectation is you just need to know English. There are usually people that can help you in processes in just daily life. That said, the more you know the language, the more opportunities you have and the more you can interact with the world around you. So if you put in the effort, you'll definitely learn as you go and improve and be able to, again, connect more with the people around you. And if not, how do you read most things? For Japanese language, there's basically 3 types of characters used in writing. There's hiragana and katakana, which are, for all intents and purposes, alphabets. And then there's kanji, which are kind of complicated characters that represent meanings, and kanji is used in place of hiragana to make words, which makes reading much easier if you know the kanji. Even if you don't know the meaning of the word or the pronunciation, if you know the kanji, then you can figure out the meaning of the word, kind of like Latin roots. If you can read just hiragana and katakana, you'll be surprised how much you can understand and function in Japan. I strongly recommend people that visit Japan to at least study the basic alphabets, just to get an idea. A lot of times you'll find signs and information in both English and Japanese, but you'll also see them in hiragana and katakana. If you can read those, then you can do pretty well. You can ask for directions, talk to people. So you don't need to know Japanese to live in Japan. You can function fine without it, at least in the beginning. The more you learn, the more you know, the more you can get involved and interact. These next set of questions come from Wanikani. What is Wanikani, you ask? Well, that's the sponsor of this video. No? No, not the sponsor? No sponsor? They're not sponsoring us? They said don't talk about it? Okay. Wanikani is a website that helps you study Japanese kanji using a flashcard repetition-based system. It's been really helpful for me to help me learn kanji, and I highly recommend it to anyone. It's not a sponsor for this video, but hey, Wanikani. Yo, I'll sell out for you. Yo, like Wanikani, I'm happily sell out for you. Yo, you're a product I really believe in, so I'm happy to sell my integrity for a little bit of that Wanekane money. Hyena says, I hope it's okay that I'm writing multiple questions. Sorry if it's not. Totally fine. Give me all your questions. I'll do my best to answer them. I've heard that Japan has a lot of festivals and traditional rituals. As a foreigner, do you find that you're encouraged to participate in such events, or do you tend to be shooed away because of your nationality? In my experience, I've been quite encouraged to participate in events. A lot of people kind of see, if you show up to an event, people kind of push you forward or kind of want you to like participate and experience the culture. A lot of people take pictures. I think there's a tendency at some more formal events where I usually feel pretty welcome at events and encouraged to participate. And sometimes you're kind of a novelty in a sense. And so people will take pictures and look at you and be like, oh, wow. Almost always just in good intentions, good fun. So I'd say people are pretty friendly and want to share with us foreigners. Punctuality is king in Japan, so much so that a train being a couple of minutes late is grounds for formal apology. Has this been a problem for you, or are people more lenient due to you not being Japanese? There's definitely more slack given to people that are foreigners because there is the kind of stereotype that Japanese people are always serious and always on time, and foreigners tend to be late. So in that case, there is a bit more leniency. Not at work, though. At work, they expect you to be on time and be present when you're supposed to be. In fact, you're encouraged to arrive early. Amongst Japanese people and friends, they're a little more understanding if you're late. Now, because of this stereotype, it is nice that there's a bit of lenience for us foreigners, but because of the stereotype, I feel more inclined to arrive early and get there on time. I want to disprove this thing. I don't want people to think like, foreign, they're always late. No, we're not. I mean, I am. My whole life I have two modes. I'm either they're like right on time and maybe late, or I'm way too early. You know the jokes about white people going to the airport several hours early? I'm one of them. Do people dumb down their Japanese when they speak to you, i.e. speak in shorter or simpler phrases, or even just try to only speak English? Sometimes when I first meet people, they will speak to me very slowly and simply to make sure I understand. And then usually once I respond in what I hope is competent Japanese, they tend to be amazed and then start speaking even faster. Hello! 出身はどこですか? 僕はアメリカから参りました。すごい! 日本語本当に上手だね。ね、なんで日本に来ましたか? ね、もちろん食べ物は美味しいですね。でも、わかりません。And also, do they try to only speak English? Yeah, sometimes people will try to speak to me only in English, even if it's very broken. Many times it'd be easier for me just to speak Japanese to them than for them to try to speak English to me. But I understand that usually that comes from a place of kindness and trying to reach out. And many times, no matter how much Japanese I speak, they'll still try to speak to me in English. And in those situations, I just kind of let it happen. For these people, if they're trying to make the effort to speak English, it's kind of nice. And so I'll try to speak Japanese, but if they're not responding to that, then, we'll speak English, finish the conversation, move on. Assuming you know, how do Japanese people view weebos? Do they distinguish between weebs and people genuinely interested in the language and culture? If you don't know, weebos are foreigners that are very, obsessed with Japanese culture. Usually to the point that some of them want to be Japanese. Personally, I am very otaku. I love Japanese culture. I'm really obsessed with it. And in my experience, a lot of Japanese are just so happy that others are interested in their stuff. In Japan, there's kind of a humble image that Japan's wonderful, but it's only wonderful for Japanese people, and that foreigners may not think the same about Japan. So whenever I talk about my love of anime or games, people are so genuinely excited. When I mention shrines and temples and Japanese history, people are just so exuberant and excited that a foreigner is interested in their kind of culture and language. I don't think Japanese see the distinguish as much as we foreigners see amongst ourselves. A lot of them are genuinely happy that people are interested at all in Japan or the language. And finally, my number one question. How accepting is the general populace of LGBTQ plus individuals? Is the rate of hate crimes high, or are most people accepting of others? Are there different standards when it comes to foreigners, and if so, how do they differ? Yeah, great question. I don't have a lot of personal experience with this, but I have talked to some LGBT friends about this. While Japan is definitely not openly for gay marriage and things of that nature, on a people-to-people level, it's not so much hate towards those kind of people, but just a general sense that your private life, your relationships, your sexual identity, that's very personal and private. And so people just generally don't talk about it very much. Even amongst friends, it's a bit limited. I've worked with people for a couple years and didn't even know they were dating anyone just because they never mention it. A lot of personal lives are considered just that, personal. So I don't think it's so much about what your sexual identity is, but so much that any of your sexuality is typically held pretty close to chest. Wherever you fall in the LGBTQ plus community, I think you don't need to worry about active discrimination against you. I don't know much about other workplaces, but I know at work in general, as long as you keep things to yourself, for the most part, people are okay. Again, you can talk about it with friends, you can talk about it. It's not taboo entirely. A lot of sexual identity stuff is considered private. Again, sorry if this is too much. Not at all. Thank you for your question, Hyena. Novafae. Hello, I'm also living in Japan. Hey, fellow Japan liver, what's up? I've only been here about 7 months and plan to stay at least 3 years. I plan to stay 3 years too. I'm on my 5th year. Do you have any general advice for living in Japan? I've become involved in the community through various activities, events, etc., and I've been trying to see as much as I can. You're doing it right. You're doing exactly what you should do, which is try to connect, try to interact, try to get out there. Keep doing what you're doing. It sounds like you already have a good head start. Try to practice the language as much as you can and study. The more you know, the more you can really interact and engage with people. I've had a lot of events where I was welcome to participate, and I've also had events where I was not openly invited, but once I asked someone and talked about it, people were more than welcome to have me. Sometimes people are just a little nervous and shy and not sure if you even want to participate or do something. And then when you speak up and ask, sometimes you might be turned away. And that doesn't necessarily work for everything, but as long as you try and put yourself out there, usually people are very receptive and welcoming. Any places you recommend visiting or seeing, especially anything that isn't very touristy or well known? Some of the best places to go are in your own area, places you don't even know about. Even now, I try to go once in a while and look around my area to new places, or just take a different street when walking, and you'll see there's some beautiful places hidden just right out of sight that you never would have known about. Personally, I'm really into Japanese shrines and temples, and I love looking around at nature. So it's quite easy to stumble upon these really unique places that are, again, right under your nose. I have a hard time listening to Japanese. I can read, write, and speak much more than I can hear someone trying to speak to me. Any advice on how to improve my listening skills? I totally understand this. It's been somewhat discouraging to practice and study so much, only to have a conversation with a stranger, not understand a word. It feels like 2 steps forward, 10 steps back kind of thing. Living in the Inaka doesn't help too much either. Ha ha ha. This still happens to me. I feel really comfortable speaking Japanese, but even now, especially if it's an older person with a very thick accent, I'm lost. Obviously, the simple answer is you just keep learning, you keep experiencing it, you keep getting in awkward situations, and you tend to learn and get better. One thing that really helps me is shadowing, and so I listen to anime. I'll watch anime, and I'll try to repeat the words as I hear them, and that helps both in speaking and hearing it, and that I find that really helpful for me. I'm also a person that's much better at reading and writing than I am speaking and listening. Speaking is kind of easy in a way in that you just throw out words you know. Even if you don't know the grammar, if you could just throw out some vocab words, people usually can understand. Listening is very difficult because sometimes it's very passive and you're just kind of getting information. That's okay. But sometimes, like, once you get lost, it can be complete confusion. The most important thing is just to not beat yourself up over it. It is discouraging, and I know the feeling, but just know the more you experience talking, communication, the more you'll improve. And if you want to work on your own, I recommend shadowing anything you listen to, talk to more people, and a lot of it is you need to talk to someone and learn their voice and their accent and be able to understand it. So even now, some of my best friends I can talk to no problem, but I'll meet a new person with a strong accent and it's just, I promise your next year will be better than your last year. And then the next year will be even better than the last year. And then the next year will be better than the last year. It just gets better. Don't worry. That's all for the Wani Kani questions. The next questions come from my Twitter followers. Oh wait, that's right. I don't have any Twitter followers. I'm so unloved on Twitter, I've had bots follow me and then unfollow me. Not even bots want to put up with me. What am I doing wrong? The next question's from a personal friend of mine on Twitch. And speaking of Twitch, woo! Whew, yeah! Talk about your great transitions. What's up, people? Why am I sitting in front of a green screen? Why is there a microphone here? That's right, I am officially live on Twitch. That's right, I am live on Twitch, maybe even right now, where I'll be hanging out, playing games, and chatting with the wonderful people of the world, such as yourselves. In addition to making YouTube videos, I will be streaming live on Twitch every week. For details on schedule, please head over there to my Twitch channel and check it out. You can also keep up with my schedule on Twitter or on Discord. I'll include links in the description below so you can come over yourself and say hi. If you would be so kind as to come over, check it out, let me know what you think, drop a follow if you really enjoy it. I'm very excited. Pelican Patronus, again a personal friend of mine, and a wonderful streamer who encouraged me to get into it. Sushi or ramen? Which is the best national food? Easy. The answer is sushi. Ramen is fantastic. It's so delicious, especially at restaurants. But I gotta give the win to sushi. Sushi is just so Japanese. There's something about eating raw fish just beautifully cut up and put on a little bed of rice that just seems Japanese. And one of the best things in the world is kaiten sushi, which is conveyor belt sushi. And it's so much fun to go there and look at it going around, see the sushi and be like, I'll take that, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that. And it's so fun. And at the end of it, you get a whole stack of plates. And that is your bill, basically. And for those that are worried about the freshness of the sushi, it's usually still very fresh, even on the conveyor belt. They'll take it down if it's been going too long. And you can also order sushi, which my favorite being hamburger sushi. That's right, it's hamburger meat on a sushi, which is just like brilliant. I love it. It's not like sushi, fish sushi, but man, it's good. It's delicious. That and cheese salmon. Love it. And again, be sure to check me out live on Twitch. All right, that concludes all the questions. Again, thank you so much for all the people that submitted them. I really enjoyed reading them, answering them, and I hope you learned something today. If you enjoyed this question and answer style, please let me know in the comments below. I've really had fun doing it, and I might make more of these in the future. We'll see. If you enjoyed this video, please hit a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and hey, have a wonderful day, you beautiful person you.